Episode 50, The Plural Marriages Keep on Coming. Welcome to the Hidden and Distorted History of the Church series, where we will be looking at the historical aspects of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, also known as the Mormons. In this series, I will try and inform those unaware of the true facts of Mormon history. Recap. Last week, we exposed Joseph Smith's bold prophecy that Missouri Governor Lilburn Boggs would meet a violent end. At the same time, Smith championed the Book of Mormon as the church's cornerstone, all while hiding its original manuscript and suppress witness testimonies. And if that wasn't enough, Smith added yet another woman, Zena Diantha Huntington Jacobs, to his ever-expanding list of secret plural wives, cementing his role as both prophet and polygamist in the shadows. This week, we break down John C. Bennett's rapid rise to power in Nauvoo. Meanwhile, Joseph Smith secretly adds more wives to his growing list, all without Emma's knowledge. We also touch on Smith's ties to Freemasonry before closing with a closer look at how Joseph and Emma transferred valuable property to their children just days before filing for bankruptcy. You do not want to miss this episode. Part 5. John C. Bennett gets paid. In September 1841, John C. Bennett became Nauvoo's first mayor, handpicked by Joseph Smith, not for his piety, but for his political savvy and willingness to serve as Smith's tool in building a theocratic stronghold. Smith didn't just choose Bennett, he weaponized him. Bennett's arrival in Nauvoo wasn't about faith, it was about power. A practiced politician with a silver tongue, Bennett pledged loyalty to Smith's cause, using his skills to manipulate Illinois politics and secure the foundation for Smith's religious empire. This wasn't partnership, it was a calculated move to cement control. The payoff came quickly. By 1843, Smith orchestrated a staggering increase in the mayor's salary, skyrocketing it from $100 to $500 annually, a massive sum in the 19th century. This wasn't generosity. It was a bribe to ensure Bennett's allegiance and keep Nauvoo's government firmly under Smith's control. But Bennett's loyalty was as hollow as his morals. By 1842, his trail of deceit, affairs, and manipulation came crashing down. When his reputation became a liability, though Smith's own reputation was no better, Smith cut him loose, excommunicating him from the church. In retaliation, Bennett turned on Smith, exposing scandals that would tarnish Mormon history for generations. And the final insult? After Smith's assassination in 1844, the Nauvoo City Council slashed the mayor's salary back to $100. The move was telling. Bennett's inflated paycheck had never been about public service. It was about Joseph Smith buying influence, consolidating power, and using corruption to fortify his grip on Nauvoo. Part 2. Joseph racks up 3 more plural wives. A month after secretly marrying Zena Jacobs in a grove, Joseph Smith continued his pattern of taking on additional plural wives, again, all behind Emma's back. One of these women was Presendia Lathrop Huntington Buell, who was already married to Norman Buell at the time. Once more, Joseph declared spiritual ownership over another man's wife, blatantly disregarding both marriage vows and societal norms. Almera Woodard Johnson, the sister of Joseph's close associate Benjamin F. Johnson, also became one of his plural wives during this time. Benjamin himself documented the marriage later in life, recounting his family's involvement in plural marriage and specifically mentioning Almera's sealing to Joseph. Other members of the Johnson family also signed affidavits confirming the union, leaving little doubt about its authenticity. Another Johnson sister, Delsina, is often listed as one of Smith's plural wives. While the exact date of this marriage remains unclear, some researchers suggest it occurred in 1841. However, unlike with Almera, the evidence for Delsina's marriage to Joseph is sparse. The secrecy surrounding plural marriage creates a fog of contradictions and blurred timelines. Records were deliberately obscured, and even many church members were kept in the dark. Marriages attributed to 1841 may have occurred earlier or later, but based on available evidence, this period marks a significant escalation in Joseph's polygamous practices. Respected scholars such as Todd Compton, in Sacred Loneliness, and D. Michael Quinn, The Mormon Hierarchy, Origins of Power, have analyzed primary sources to shed light on Joseph Smith's plural marriages. These accounts, while thorough, reveal the complexity and chaos of a practice shrouded in secrecy. This clandestine activity fueled growing tensions in Nauvoo, particularly with Emma Smith. Her suspicions eventually pushed her into a precarious position, at times reluctantly approving specific plural marriages, only to later oppose the practice entirely. Joseph's attempts to juggle the loyalty of his followers, the secrecy of his actions, and Emma's increasing discontent underscore the tightrope he walked in maintaining his power and the inevitable fractures it caused. Part 3. The Masonic Connection. On December 30th, 1841, Joseph Smith formally petitioned for membership in the Nauvoo Masonic Lodge, a pivotal moment in his integration into the world of Freemasonry. This event is far from trivial. It underscores the deepening connection between Masonry and the early LDS Church, revealing how Freemasonry's influence infiltrated the highest echelons of Mormon leadership. The Nauvoo Lodge, established earlier that year under the leadership of John C. Bennett, was a hotbed for power players within Nauvoo. Bennett, both a Freemason and a prominent figure in the city, helped shape the lodge's early membership, which quickly expanded to include key figures from the church. By the end of 1841, the lodge became an undeniable force in Nauvoo, cementing its connection to Joseph Smith and the rising Mormon establishment. Though I won't delve into the details here, having already dedicated 2 videos specifically to Joseph Smith's involvement with Freemasonry, this moment remains a cornerstone for understanding the intertwining of Mormonism and Masonry. If you're curious for a deeper dive, check out those videos for more insight. Part 4. Funnel money for personal gains. From December 1841 to August 1842, Joseph and Emma Smith executed a series of highly questionable property transfers in Hancock County, Illinois, actions that raised serious red flags about their financial and legal gamesmanship. They strategically transferred ownership of valuable properties to their minor children just before they filed for bankruptcy. Let that sink in. Just before declaring bankruptcy, they shifted assets worth thousands of dollars, selling them to their kids for a mere $100 apiece. The timing of these shady deals? Perfectly calculated. 2 days before Joseph Smith filed for bankruptcy in August 1842. At the time, Joseph Smith and the church were under severe financial strain. Nauvoo's expansion came at a steep cost, leaving them buried in debt from land purchases and city development. But instead of facing the consequences like any other person would, Joseph and Emma figured out a way to protect their wealth by funneling it through their children. Legally transferring ownership to minors meant those properties were off limits to creditors, all while the Smiths maintained de facto control. Ethically, though, it's a complete debacle. These moves stank of a deliberate attempt to dodge financial responsibility, all while keeping the family's coffers filled. Sound familiar? Joseph had a history of evading financial accountability. He warned his brother Hiram about dodging arrest for debts, even helping him flee when an arrest warrant was issued. That same pattern of running from responsibility, of making sure the Smiths remained untouchable despite mounting financial ruin, continued until their deaths. John C. Bennett, who was once in Joseph's inner circle before becoming one of his most vocal critics, called out these property transfers in History of the Saints, pages 96 to 97. Bennett, though an enemy of Joseph, was no slouch when it came to documenting facts, and much of his information was later corroborated by public records and contemporary accounts. But how do you know Bennett wasn't just lying? Simple. On August 19, 1842, Joseph Smith filed for bankruptcy under federal law. This move came as debts, lawsuits, and creditor judgments were closing in on him, making bankruptcy a convenient means of escaping financial ruin. Yet those property transfers, made just days before the filing, paint a clear picture of a man desperate to hold on to his wealth, even if it meant exploiting loopholes meant to protect others, not him. Part 5. Another marriage under Smith's belt. On January 6, 1842, Joseph Smith secretly married Agnes Coolbrith Smith, the widow of his younger brother, Don Carlos Smith, who had died just 5 months earlier. This was no act of love. It was another calculated move in Joseph's twisted polygamous agenda. A marriage shrouded in secrecy, just like the rest of his plural marriages, and part of his ongoing effort to manipulate relationships for his own benefit. Agnes, left widowed with 2 young daughters, was vulnerable, and Joseph swooped in. This wasn't about compassion. This was about consolidating control. And once again, Joseph Smith played by his own rules. Marrying your deceased brother's widow? It wasn't just odd, it was deeply controversial and raised eyebrows even among Joseph's own contemporaries. But did Joseph care about propriety or morality? Of course not. Everything was secret. Everything was for his benefit. After Joseph's death in 1844, Agnes didn't stay committed to the farce of plural marriage. She got out, moved to California with her daughters, far away from the chaos and the lies of Joseph's world. The fact that she distanced herself from the LDS practice speaks volumes about the true nature of Joseph's divine system of marriage. On January 17, 1842, Joseph Smith took yet another swing at decency and morality by marrying Mary Elizabeth Rollins Lightner, 6 months pregnant with another man's child. And to top it off, he did this just days before his wedding anniversary with his only legal wife, Emma Smith. How's that for a slap in the face? Mary Elizabeth Rollins was no stranger to Joseph's manipulative control. She had already been dragged into his web as one of the first women to be ordained to the priesthood, a move he would later abandon for the sake of his own narrative. But here's the kicker. She wasn't just another woman. She was pregnant with a child that wasn't Joseph's, and he didn't care. To him, she was just another tool to maintain his grip on power. Let's talk about timing. Joseph had just passed his anniversary with Emma, his first and legal wife, a woman who had already suffered the humiliation of polygamy at his hands. And yet, Joseph didn't think twice before making her suffer even more. He not only married another woman, but one who was carrying another man's child. It's not just disrespect, it's an utter betrayal on top of betrayal. Emma was already fighting a losing battle, watching her husband tear their vows to shreds, and Joseph just kept going, with no care for the devastation he was causing. This wasn't about love or faith or any of the lofty ideals he preached. This was about control. Joseph Smith didn't give a damn about anyone but himself. He was playing a twisted game with women, bending them to his will to secure his own power. And Emma? She was just collateral damage in his quest to feed his ego and fulfill his delusions of godhood. Please watch for future videos, and thank you so kindly for watching. This is the Ex-Mormon Informant signing off for the day.